Hello, Tansei et Lanete Ani Bonjour. Welcome back to Our Shared Politics. My name is Nova. I am a settler on Turtle Island. I created this podcast to really showcase socialism instead of just pursuing their Red Scare blindly, which just pushes people further apart. I wish to express acknowledgement that I am on Treaty 8 territory, home to the Tetskane, Denizat, Nahiawak, Soto, and BC Métis. It is essential I recognize all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit, both status and non-status, as the guardians of these lands. As a non-Indigenous person, I play a role as a treaty partner being represented by the government. My pronouns are she, her, but I also accept they, them, and I fall under the 2S LGBTQIA+ umbrella. I say these things at the top of every episode so that you are able to make your decision on how safe of a person I am. Over the next few weeks, I want to go over the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada's calls to action, but for this week, I'd like to focus on this article I found from Indigenous Watchdog, which was published about 2 years ago, but because there hasn't been a new one published since, or at least updated, I can only assume this is as up-to-date as it gets. The article is How Many of the TRC Calls to Action Are Complete? Don't Ask the Federal Government. I'll provide the link to the article in the description, but I think it highlights just how out of touch the government as a whole is with the needs of their citizens. I think this is something every single Canadian should care about, holding our government to, as it will do nothing but make Canada the great country we all love to pretend it is. The article begins with, the federal government is directly or jointly accountable for 76 of the 94 Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada's calls to action. It goes on to state, the federal government states that they have completed 17 calls to action as per the following table versus CBC, Yellowhead Institute, and Indigenous Watchdog. So basically, the federal government is saying that they've already completed 17 of the 76 calls that they're responsible for, but 3 separate independent organizations could only find either 7 or 8 completed. So we're going to go through this table together. CBC and Yellowhead Institute both found 8 calls to action complete, while Indigenous Watchdog found only 7 that have been completed up until now. Let's go through the 5 calls to action that all of the groups have agreed are completed. These are calls to action 13, 15, 60, 83, and 94. Call to action 13 is acknowledge Indigenous rights, include Indigenous language rights. Number 15 is appoint an Indigenous language commissioner. 60 is establish a statutory holiday, National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, which is September 30th every day. 83 is establish strategies for Canada Council for the Arts funding for Indigenous reconciliation projects. And 94 is replace the oath of citizenship with a new oath with Indigenous content. So what about the other 12? 7 are all classified or are all classed as incomplete by all 3 independent organizations. These are calls to action 4, 14, 25, 43, 67, and 78. And 87. 2 are ranked as completed by CBC and Yellowhead Institute and incomplete by Indigenous Watchdog. 1 is ranked as complete by CBC and Indigenous Watchdog and incomplete by Yellowhead, which is 84. 1 is ranked as complete by Yellowhead Institute and incomplete by CBC and Indigenous Watchdog. This is number 72. And 1 is ranked as complete by Indigenous Watchdog and incomplete by CBC and Yellowhead. Aside from the federal government, there are an additional 18 calls to action where other stakeholders are also accountable. Call to action number 16 is post-secondary institutes. Call to action number 48 is Catholic, United, Anglican, and Presbyterian churches, faith groups, interfaith, social justice groups. Call to action number 49 is all religious denominations and faith groups. Call to action number 59, Catholic, United, Anglican, and Presbyterian churches. Call to action number 85, Aboriginal People's Television Network. So in the next episode, we'll go over the first 17 calls to action and we'll continue on from there. As always, thank you for joining me today. I drop a new episode every Monday morning at midnight, so check back in next week to see what I'll be sharing with you then. So-called Canada is in a fentanyl and mental health crisis right now. Please consider picking up a free naloxone kit at your local pharmacy and do not use alone. For any Indigenous listeners out there, the Hope for Wellness Helpline offers immediate culturally aware and trauma-informed help to all Indigenous people across Canada. It is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in English and French to offer immediate support and crisis intervention. While there are supports in Cree and Ojibwe and Inuktitut, those are not available 24/7, so you may need to call in and find out the next time that a language speaker is available. Call the toll-free helpline at 1-855-242-3310 or connect to the online chat at www.hopeforwellness.ca. And there's also the Thunderbird Wellness app that provides access to Indigenous perspectives on health and wellness, including substance abuse and mental health. Now, not that Indigenous people can't use these next resources, but they do not advertise as culturally aware or trauma-informed. So for everyone else, if you must use alone, please keep in mind that you can call 1-888-688-6677 to contact the National Overdose Response Services to access support while using and especially using alone. And there's the Brave, BRAVE app with a use alone timer that connects a paramedic with your location if you don't respond. For mental health support, you can contact 988 to get connected to a crisis responder. If you learned something new today, it'd be awesome if you'd click that button and follow along for next time. Or if you'd like to contact me with feedback, you can email me at oursharedpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.